Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo. And low key, I took too long making this video, so let's just get straight into it. We got Minnesota Timberwolves, 2023 season, some light, but more seriously, we're just gonna talk about this roster as a whole, how I'm feeling about them, if I'm really feeling if they're a contender or not, and I want to pose one question: is this team more likely to get bounced out in the first round, or are they more likely to make the Western Conference Finals? I don't know why I froze up there. I think it's because I associate Minnesota with the Central America and Central U.S. and kind of like closer to the Eastern Conference. But you know what? We don't talk about that. But here are some of the teams that I think that could bounce out the oof. Let me get my words. Here are some of the teams that I think that could bounce out the Minnesota Timberwolves. However, I think that every other team, I think that the Minnesota Timberwolves will probably just bounce out regardless. Even the Phoenix Suns, I think that the Phoenix Suns don't have that much to really combat this team. So let's just get into it. So first off, I want to talk about Rudy Gobert's fit on this roster. Actually, when we look at this team, we have a guy like Kyle Anderson. I think PJ Dozier. Let me look at some other people. Is he? Nah, he probably won't play minutes with him. But looking at this roster. Oh wait, D'Lo. I'm dumb. But these are some of the solid defenders on this team besides Rudy Gobert. Even a guy like Karl Anthony Towns is pretty good. Where's Jaden McDaniels? There he is. Jaden McDaniels is also a really, really good defender. The only problem with this team is, can I see their transactions? Yes, sir. So when we look at this trade with Rudy Gobert, is this whole trade. So look at some of these players, man. They traded away one of their best defensive point guards in Patrick Riley. Well, he is their best defensive point guard, but I think what excuse that, but I think what hurts more is more so the Jared Vanderbilt trade. I think that if they were able to retain Jared Vanderbilt and keep the roster the way it is, oh man, I think that. Let me pull up the teams that I think that were better. I think that they'd probably I don't think they'd be better than some of the teams that I said, but they would definitely pickpocket some of their change if they were ever to beat up in a 7-game series. I think that they would actually win against some of those games or against some of those teams in a 7-game series. I won't say that they're necessarily better, but I would say that if this guy was able to play with Rudy Gobert on the same team, these teams would not be scoring on him. Let's just look at the Minnesota Timberwolves' just defense overall last year. I've already covered this a little bit, but again, the 13th best defense without Rudy Gobert. Let's just check up the Utah Jazz's last couple of seasons and look how good they were on defense. And, we're going to get a very consistent theme, ninth. Rudy Gobert missed a lot of time in this season. I'm pretty sure they were fourth. Yes, they were fourth this year. I'm pretty sure they were first this year. They're 13th. They're 13th this year? Oh, man. They're first one of these years, right? Second. Okay, but this is essentially like the rise of Rudy Gobert, and we can kind of see that he's just consistently carrying these teams to a very high record of defense. And while you can't really kind of pinpoint the defensive lapses of the Utah Jazz outside of Rudy Gobert, I think what we can do with this team actually is we could look at their last season without Rudy, and we could just look at let me just do this one more time. We could just look at their success with Rudy Gobert and be like, okay, yeah, like this team is really, really solid. So first off, they're actually they're first in points per game. Damn, they must have been really good. So let's just look at some of their players. So again, he's gone, but like he's also a really bad defender, so I don't think that would really hurt. I would say Jared Vanderbilt. So these are essentially like the only couple people that I think that would really hurt this team. Is Josh Okogie on this roster? I forgot if he was on the trade or not. Let me get rid of that. Josh Okogie. Let me just pull it up. Josh. Ooh, misspelled that. Josh Okogie is not on this roster. I'm blanking out on whether or not he was super good or for them or not, but I do think that this team is still just very similar to this team, at least in terms of defensive personnel. But even then, even if they did give up Jared Vanderbilt, who is the best defender on the Wolves before this trade, they got Rudy Gobert. Carl Anderson is still really good, and again, PJ Dozier is still really good. D'Angelo Russell is still one of the best point guard defenders, at least in this year. I didn't know he went to OSU. Shout out my boy, but yeah, I think that this team overall is just going to be a lot more defensively talented than the Utah Jazz. I think that that's going to be a really good thing to look forward to. So, yeah, I ain't going to lie. I spent too much time talking about that motherfucker Rudy Gobert. So, we just got to speed through some of these other points that I want to make. Can this do that? All right, so we have a guy like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with this? Hold on. So I spent a little bit too much time on Rudy Gobert, but today right now we're going to be talking about some of the other players on this roster. I've already talked about Anthony Edwards a little bit. I think he's going to make the jump. Of course, this guy expects him to make a 7 or 0.7 jump. Wait, no, it's 0.12. I'm blanking out right now, but I don't expect him to be 22 point per game type of score. I expect him to be a 24 point per game, because another thing that we need to realize is that Malik Beasley, I don't know why I said Michael. Where is my boy? Where is he? Am I blanking out on him? Oh, there he is. I forgot I did this. So Malik Beasley was actually taking up a lot of shots this season, even if you could just say, oh well, these shots are probably going to go to Cap. Even if they do, a lot of these shots are just going to go to him. But this is actually a really good player to pull up, actually. But looking at Anthony Edwards and D'Lo, I think that they're probably just going to have to carry the offense creation for this team. And for Anthony Edwards, I'm actually pretty fine with it. But for D'Lo, we're kind of approaching the danger zone with D'Lo. He had this one All-Star season, and don't get me wrong, he was definitely an All-Star this season. And I would say that this is probably his pound for pound best season. And while I wouldn't say it's necessarily not close, I would say that we're looking at a roster where he definitely needs to step it up a little bit. I think that if he bumps it up to 22 points per game again, I think that if he's a fringe all-star even, I think that this team is definitely going to be a title contender. I still do think that they're going to be a title contender without D'Lo making this massive jump. But if D'Lo and Anthony Edwards, I don't know why. I'm recording this right after the Lakers video, so that's the reason why I'm saying Davis instead of Edwards. But Anthony Edwards and D'Lo have to carry the offensive creation, at least on the perimeter, for a lot of these guards. And I think that that's probably going to be what they really want. And if they're able to kind of get away with the Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns fit on offense, I think on defense it's not going to be nearly as bad, because they're probably just going to sit Rudy Gobert on the bad shooter on the offensive end, and they're probably just going to put Cat on a 5. So I don't think that that's necessarily going to be a bad part. Even if they do face a team like the Warriors, they could probably just put Cat on, I would say, Wiggins, and then Rudy Gobert on a guy like Draymond Green. Or if they go up against the Clippers, Nicholas Batum is going to get guarded by Cat. And then, well, actually, the Clippers actually don't have non-shooters, actually. I just realized that. They probably put him on Robert Covington or something. I don't know. But regardless, I think that's still straying away a little bit. But again, I think that D'Lo, Anthony Davis, or Anthony Edwards again. Oh my gosh. I gotta retake this video, man. Nah, I can't. I'm already 9 minutes deep. I just gotta edit this video. So I think that these two really just depend, or are very, very, very important for this roster in terms of their shot creation. Karl Anthony Towns, I think that he's a top 20-ish player. I haven't finished ranking my top 20 players, so I'm actually still in the process of thinking of where I'm going to put him, but he's definitely a top 20 player. Don't get it wrong. He's the best shooter in the big man shooter in the league, at least 40 points or 40% from 3 on some historic 3 numbers for a big man. Don't get it twisted. He's definitely one of them. He's one of them. And yeah, I think that's just gonna be a really nice thing to see now. I will say, let's just look at their offense last year one more time. They were the eighth best offense. I actually don't know if that's gonna bump up. And I know that they're gonna get rid of, or they've already gotten rid of a guy like Malik Beasley, who is also a really good shot, shooter, I guess. I think he was a good shot creator, but he just didn't really shot create for this team after the Anthony Edwards explosion. So yeah, I would say that this team is probably gonna be more so suited for the defensive end. I'm expecting this to jump up to the fifth best defense, and I'm expecting them to be I would say the 10th best offense, actually. I expect them to be the 10th best offense. But looking at the roster and any other players that could make a difference, Eric Paschal is actually, he's a solid player. But I would say that he's one of those players where you definitely just need him to have the ball in his hands a little bit more than you really want him to. That, and he's not the best 3-point shooter. Yeah, he's shooting like 37%, but that's on such low volume that you don't really want to, try with that. I think a guy like PJ Dozier, I think that he's not the best shooter. I really recognize that, but his defense is solid. I would say that this year was not the best for him, though. Again, the ACL injury. I'm 100% sure he's going to miss a significant time, but I could be wrong. Any other players off the bat? Josh Minot, I don't recognize him. What pick was this? He was okay, that makes sense. I think Torian Pitts is a shooter, actually. Naz Reid, I think that he's not going to get that much minutes, actually. The only reason why is because he's, a center when two of the best centers in the league are on the same team. So, yeah, I think that's going to be something to look at. Yeah, I think that's it. So, I think that this team is going to have a high ceiling and a high floor, actually. I really want to talk about how they are probably the team to more likely make a Western Conference Finals, because even though when we do look at some of these, let me just pull it up from here. So when we look at some of these teams, I would say these are probably all the lock-in playoff teams. I would say even if some of these teams don't make the actual playoffs, they'll probably make the play-in, and then they'll actually make the playoffs through that. So I think a team like Dallas, a team like let me not put up Minnesota. A team like Dallas, not Minnesota. The Clippers, Phoenix, and even the Golden State Warriors to an extent will probably struggle with their size. At least there are two big men out there. And I think that if they aren't able to really capitalize off of their shooting, if they aren't able to capitalize off of their, let me just get rid of. I think that if these teams don't capitalize off of their shooting, off their, also Zion is on this roster, I think he's going to bully Rudy Gobert. Not because Rudy Gobert is a bad defender, but Zion is just that much bigger than Rudy Gobert. Even if he's that much smaller, I don't care. He's probably just going to bully Rudy Gobert off the court. But I think that these teams really just lack the size, and I think that could work in Minnesota's favor, especially because last year was our first playoff run in what? When was Jimmy Butler traded? 2018. So that was 4 years ago. So this is pretty much a brand new roster. They have brand new players, so of course they're not going to be as good as they could be in the first game. So, yeah, that's it for this team. And sorry for this video dragging out, but yeah, it's Nehemiah, aka Neo, and I hope you guys are having a great one.